We are not so different. Good morning, my We Are Not So Different family. Thank you for joining me yet another week, another riveting episode of We Are Not So Different. You guys know the drill. Find your favorite spot on the couch, get your favorite drink, whether it's Kool-Aid or Cavassier, and just relax as we have this conversation. Today's guest, Nick McPheron. Did I say that correctly?
You sure did.
Awesome
Yeah.
sauce. Hi, Nick. Say hi to my people.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? Thanks for tuning in.
And they say, hi, how y'all doing? So I have known Nick, oh my gosh, we were just talking about this before you guys got on, almost 30 years, ever since middle school. Nope. Did we go to elementary together? Now I'm thinking about it.
Now, you went to Jonas Salk or no?
No,
I
I
was on the
went
other
to
side then.
Brookview.
Okay,
Oh,
I was on the other side.
okay, cool. Well,
Yeah,
yes.
we were in the band.
Yes, band geeks. Yes. Well, you played the flute, right?
The clarinet.
Oh, I knew you were in the wind
Yeah.
instruments, and I was playing the trombone. But yes, long time I've known Mr. Nick here, so I'm really excited for us to be able to catch up and for y'all to be able to tune in whilst we catch up. So, Nick, everyone that comes here has the same two questions, and you're no different, sir. So we're going to start off with the first two. Okay.
Okay.
Number one. If you had the undivided attention of an audience of your choosing, who would that said audience be, and what would you tell them?
That's a great question. There's so many people to choose, and there's really so many audiences I would choose. Probably the most that stands out the most is the LGBT or LGBTQ community, just because I'm part of that community, and I struggled growing up of identifying and really being my true self. And what I would tell them is really be yourself. Don't be what your mom or your dad or your brother or your pastor or your neighbor or grandma. Be your true genuine self. And then it took me many years, and really just a couple of years ago when I did a big presentation at GameStop of really opening myself up and talking about my trials and tribulations of being a gay man growing up, which we'll go into later, but really the LGBT youth. There's so many that get outcasted from their families, where they're kicked out. I saw a lot of that when I lived in San Diego, and there's 13 and 14-year-old kids that are homeless
Mm.
because their parents kicked them out because they were gay or lesbian or transgender, which was very heartbreaking to see that, to know that a parent or family member would treat their own blood to, sorry, it's not how I accept it or raised you, so you have to leave. And some of it is where it's the step parents have come in and are the ones that are kicking him out. It's not the biological mom or the father. It's a stepmom or stepdad that have come in and doesn't agree with that. And it doesn't really matter whether you're white, black, Hispanic, Indian. It's across the board.
Right.
It's very tough, and and I've seen a lot in my 20 years of being a gay man when I came out of Don't Ask, Don't Tell in the military, marriage equality, bullying, the shepherd out where he was chained to the fence out there. There's just so much hate around, or there was, and it's changing. It's changed a lot from more when I was even in school with you, because honestly, I knew I liked boys, but that wasn't accepted back in the day.
Yeah. So I I feel myself going off on a tangent, but that's okay. Tangents and rabbit holes are accepted
Right,
here.
right.
One of the things you said was whether it's your mom, your dad, whoever, and your pastor. And that part, it really like tugs on my heartstrings because I am a Christian. Um, However, I am of the opinion, and it's just my opinion, so y'all people don't come for me. I ain't sending for nobody, don't come for me. But I am of the opinion that the church has handled this entire situation rather poorly. Um, I can only imagine if I was like a mother to lesbian or you know a gay or transgender or whatever is covered in the LGBT community. And I'm sure there are some letters that I'm missing there, so don't I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend, but I can only imagine if I was a mom. Like, I can't imagine, even though I am a Christian, yes, I'm not ashamed of that. And I understand the beliefs that, they raise us with and that I believe in it as well. But however, there has to be a point where love kind of transcends, like the Bible says that love covers, right? I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of a mom or maybe even a sister or auntie. Like, I can't imagine if one of my babies came and was like, Mom, this is what I am. While I might struggle with it, I'm just being honest with you, that's still my child. That's still my blood. That's still like, you haven't changed. Like, you're still like, you still my people. So when I hear stories like that, it makes me feel some kind of way. It's like, regardless of what if whatever they told you, like, love should be the answer regardless. So that's what if I'm tripping up over my words, is because I have a million and one words trying to come through one mouth at the same time. But I believe that the church has handled the situation poorly, and hate should not even exist. How can you say that? Okay, please don't get me tangent over, stop. But when you said that, it kind of struck a nerve. I was like, you know what, you're right. Because there are some pastors, and they'll tell you, that it's a sin. And if that's what we believe, okay, great. But okay, but then what about cheating on your taxes? That's a sin. What about
Right.
lying? That's a sin. What about so many other things? So, like, you can't point out one thing and say, oh, you're going to go into hell. Okay, well, then we all going to hell then. So let me get off my soapbox. I'm sorry. You just touched the nerve with that one spot right there, and I'm like ready to go in. But Wusa. Question number 2. If you have the opportunity to speak to a younger version of yourself, let's say 4 or 5-year-old Nick, what do you think that he needs to hear?
What do I think I would want to hear is, the same thing I've heard growing up. My mom has always taught me the true values. My mom and dad have taught me the values of being a good human being and being a good person. I mean, you can be a good person and still be not a nice person, right? I mean, we've all encountered those people at one time or another that think they're a nice person, but genuinely they're not a good person. They do some evil things. They've said some evil things. Just be yourself. I'm probably one of the most caring people in the world. I hear that from people I meet, for just a few minutes, for a couple of years. I hear that, just keep caring, don't let your dreams suffer, let you're in charge of your own destiny, no one else is. People are going to come into your life for a minute. They're going to come into your life for your lifetime. What are you going to take from those impacts from each person that you encounter, good, bad, or indifferent, and how are you going to work that into your life?
Mm.
Because there's things I've done in my from 5 or 6 up till I'm 29, just kidding, 43, that I've learned, and good or bad, and that I've taken, hey, that was a good thing, I'm going to try it, and if it worked, I'm going to keep doing it. But if it didn't work, it's not for everybody. But just don't be afraid of your dreams. We hold ourselves back. We're our own toughest critics, right? We're our harshest critics,
Right.
and we allow and the only thing that gets in our own way is ourselves, right? That little person in your brain saying, no, you shouldn't do that. Oh no, you're going to fail, or you're not good enough, or you're ugly enough, you're too skinny, your hair is too short, you got a wonky eye, your teeth are messed up. It's we have that critic in our own head of ourselves,
Mhm.
so really dream, dream in pursue your dreams. We have dreams. I remember back in junior high when we sit in band class and we dream about we could talk about our teacher, Mr. Ewing, Miss Ireland,
He was
of what,
hardcore.
yeah, what we was gonna do, and some of us did it. Look at Robert Rose. athletic director, Bolingbrook High School, played a trumpet right next to you.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many people that I grew up with that are still in this community that make a huge impact.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure, you know, they would tell you the same thing, dream big. There's no such thing as too big of a dream.
No such thing. I love that. Thank you, Nick. Oh my gosh. I feel inspired. So, you mentioned uh earlier, you said that even as a child, you knew. So how old were we in middle school? Like 10, 11, 12? Because you
12,
start high
13,
school at
12,
13,
13,
12,
12, 13,
13.
14. Yeah,
You better not be 14 in middle school. You go to high school, right? Anyway,
maybe.
12, 13.
Unless you failed.
That's not funny. I'm sorry. Yes. So, but you said that you mentioned that you knew. And it's funny because I remember we used to play this game, and now that I think about it, it was wildly inappropriate, even as children. Wildly inappropriate. But I think that I knew then. So how much sooner, I mean, because it's yourself and you know yourself. So when do you think that you first like knew?
Um, and probably when I was in elementary school, you know, you start having these feelings. And back in the 80s, you know, homosexuality wasn't talked about. And if it was bad, right? HIV was just really hitting the community, and you know, it wasn't talked about, it wasn't accepted. You know, it's not like it is today where you really, do you know anyone that's part of the community? And a lot of people say, yeah, my cousin, my friend, my neighbor. It's more widely talked about, and I would say it's kind of accepted. It's more accepted than it was back in the day, you know. And you know, you see a cute boy and you're like, yeah, he's cute. You know, did I date the girls? I sure did. I dated a lot of girls in junior high and high school, even first part of the Navy, because I figured that's what I had to do. You know, and
Mm,
maybe that, you know, because I didn't really know what these feelings were, because it's not like there's TV shows like This Is Us. It's not like there's TV shows like Ellen. You know, there was nothing about it. So all you heard about what was in the media, and it was negative, or you
mm,
heard about it from the church community, and it was
mhm,
negative. It's a sin. It's not right. It's a choice. You know, and I hear that all the time. It's a choice. You know, I don't remember waking up and saying I choose to be bullied.
mhm,
I didn't, you know, it's like asking a person, hey, did you wake up and just choose to be African American? Did you choose to be Hispanic? No, it's just how we are. We didn't choose. I didn't choose to be picked on and told, called names and told don't go to certain parts of the ship in the Navy or you're going to get beat up. I didn't get told, you know, I could go on and on about the bullying in the military and even in my own family.
mm. I feel like that touched a nerve. And if we need to exit stage left and come back around later, I'm
Oh,
totally
we're
fine.
good. No,
Oh,
we're good.
okay, good. So as a young person, even in elementary, and yeah, I get that. Like, yeah, it wasn't talked about. And if it was, it definitely wasn't a negative. You don't see shows like Schitt's Creek or other stuff where it's like, open and brazenly accepted. So I can imagine that. And maybe, and forgive my ignorance of the matter, but maybe that's where the term came from in the closet, because it's something that you had to do behind closed doors or hide or tuck away, for lack of better terminology. So, wow. Okay. So, you spoke about the Navy, bullying in the Navy. Now, I don't know if you're at liberty to discuss or how much, so please draw the line and
Well,
I will respect that.
you know, there really is no, I have no line. I mean, I was in the military, really, so I have no filter. I'm not ashamed, or I'm not no longer ashamed of my past as I was even, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, of ashamed of what I had done in my past, you know. So the Navy, you know, and honestly, I went into the military because I figured it's going to help. I mean, because still in high school, I was still being called names and everything. No one actually knew, but you know, people always has the assumption, and you know, so I'm going to go in the military. It's going to make me straight, and
Really?
yeah, because I figured it's manly, it's masculine, it's going to help me. And of course, I went into the Navy, and of course, then everyone had the Navy joke. Well, you went into the Navy, it made you come out. So,
Is that the running joke? It makes you come out. Well, first of all, thank you for your service, sir.
thank you, thank you.
Like I just like I guess I'm trying to get into like the thought or the mind frame where you were, where you're like, if I go into this predominantly male infrastructure, then it'll rub off on me and it'll make me more
Masculine.
masculine.
Yep, tough. You know, you saw me in school. I was like the toothpick.
Yeah,
I was, you know, when I went into the Navy, I had to get a waiver. I only weighed 101 pounds at 18.
you had to get a
101
waiver.
weight waiver.
Wow.
You know, boot camp was tough. I was like, I'm going to do these push-ups and sit-ups. They're like, no, you don't weigh enough. You're going to sit here and eat. So I sat there, ate cheesecake, cookies, candy while everyone else is working out. They're trying to fat me up. You know, boot camp was easy. You know, once I got to the fleet, and that was probably the toughest one because, you know, that's where I found myself as being a gay man, and found someone else that was just like me. That really, you know, when you find someone that is just like you, and has gone through the same trials and tribulations as a young man, finding yourself, it's kind of like you're blind. You know, you don't really know where you're going or what you're going to bump into or what's going to happen. You're just kind of out there pulling some levers, hopefully that lever is going to pull, and it's going to pull you in the right direction. I met my first boyfriend. His name was Brian, and that's where, you know, really the bullying started. I mean, I'm consider myself pretty masculine, you know, and Brian decided that he wanted to get kicked out. He didn't want to be in the Navy anymore, and we kind of dated, and, you know, did some, yeah, we'll just say we dated, you know, and
Okay.
then he got kicked out for being gay. Well, back in the 90s, it's guilty by association.
Oh,
Yeah, guilty by association, you know, and there were people on the ship that when new people would check onto my division or department were told, don't hang out with Mick. They used a derogatory mark for gay, instead of McPheron. So, you know, and I, being in California and not having any family out there was really tough. Especially, you know, I would lay in my rack and cry because I didn't do anything, you know, but I was being looped in by guilty by association. And, you know, for a straight man, you know, for a gay man to be around them, whether they're intimidated, they're nervous, or, and most of the time it's the straight men thinking that we're going to hit on them or we're going to try something with them. I mean, and that's not the case. I mean, I have my own things that are going on in my personal life, just like you do. And when you really sit down and compare heterosexual to homosexual relationships, we have the same trials and tribulations. You know, you fight about the dishes, you fight about the laundry, who's going to the grocery store, you left you know, you left your clothes on the floor, you know, same things. You know, both heterosexual and homosexual couples will fight about it. It happens. You know, there was a witch hunt when I was in the Navy. Some of my friends that were part of the community were going around and doing inappropriate things. And for some of you guys, if you guys have been in the Navy, you would understand. There's racks. There's no curtain, or there's no door. That's, you just have a curtain as your privacy. And these guys in the Navy, we were headed on our 6-month deployment, were reaching into these curtains, which kind of gives the community a bad name because these guys were grabbing male genitalia, ripping shower curtains open on other guys, and just doing inappropriate stuff, which created a huge witch hunt. And these guys got kicked out. I remember we were sailing the Pacific headed to Australia, and we were on the bridge at midnight. It's pitch black. The captain's there, and people are lined up. All you see is just red lights. And we had to stand in front of the captain and say what these gentlemen had did. They even did it to me. And I think they thought it was okay because I was part of the community, that they could grab, fool around, horseplay, whatnot. But when you're out to sea and you really have that little bit of privacy, that
right.
is all you have. You want that little bit of semblance of, please, it's leave me alone. And I had to testify against my friends. In the end, they got kicked out. you know, and at that point I was nervous. I was like, oh man, I am going to get kicked out too, because now that I'm going to get looped in. And, you know, I had gone back to, we call it our division, and they said, you have nothing to worry about, Nick. You don't act like it. You don't talk like it. You don't walk like it. And you don't horseplay like they do. You know, they said, we got your back. You don't have to worry about anything.
Wait, so
Which
I'm confused. So when they say you don't walk like you don't talk like you don't act like it, what were they referring to?
flamboyant,
Oh,
flamboyancy, you know, and really when you think, and if you're in the, I don't know, if you're more in the middle of the country, farm people, or you don't really have, not closer to the big city, you're not used to seeing some of that. When you hear homosexual, you think of flamboyancy and really high pitched voices and very obvious. And those guys that got kicked out, they were very obvious. They had no shame. They didn't. They just lived their true selves, you know. And I
so that's
wish
what
I was that brave.
I was just gonna say, like, so were they kicked out for doing the inappropriate touching and groping, or were they kicked out because
They
of
were
the?
gay.
So that is that, and I'm like I said, forgive my ignorance because I just don't know. Is that literally the reason that is on like their dismissal, their discharge?
Homosexuality, homosexuality.
Oh,
Because back in the '90s, it was don't ask, don't tell. You know, and I mean, and that don't ask, don't tell was probably used more uh, from some straight guys because they couldn't handle the military. So that I'm gay. I need to get out. I need to get out. And the military didn't question it. They just separated them. And the only reason we had to go in front of the captain, I mean, they were doing inappropriate stuff. I mean, I don't know what it said on their discharge papers. I didn't ask, but you know, to say you're gay, you're not going to go in front of the captain. The horseplay that they were doing, being inappropriate, ripping shower curtains open while people are in the shower with no clothes on, you kind of cross that line, right? Grabbing people's genitalia, you kind of cross that line, right? So that's, I think that's what they got kicked out for. Which, if you, there'll probably be asterisks at the end also, homosexuality. But now, ever since they repealed the don't ask, don't tell, I mean, people are living their true selves that have really been in hiding for years. And some people have been in the military for 20, 30 years, and now they're be able to be comfortable living their true selves, being prideful to serve their country. And that's what people don't understand. I had a conversation with a friend of mine asking about transgender in the military. I was like, okay, there's nothing wrong with it. They're volunteering to go and fight for your freedom. They're volunteering to carry a gun and defend us. Doesn't matter what restroom they use or what they identify in. I mean, their heart's to heart. They're fighting for the country, whether they're male, female, male to female, female to male. It does not matter to me. You know, if you're raising your hand, I will serve and protect this country. I, I don't care who you are.
right.
That's a
Right.
lot. And you're volunteering. It's not like they're being told you have to go in the military. These transgender people are volunteering to go into the military.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So just for my own, I ain't even gonna say I'm asking for a friend. What literally don't ask, don't tell means what it says, right? Don't ask if you are, and if you are, don't tell it.
Correct.
Okay.
You know, and on a ship, there's a community. I mean, you all know, everyone knows who the other homosexuals are, because you know you kind of seek each other out because you have comfort with your own people, right? You know, because you have your same interests, your same hardships, also, right? Being, you know, the don't ask, don't tell. You know, you can't just hang around with the boys club and say, yeah, let's go to the red light district when we go to Hong Kong or Singapore. We have no interest in that. And, you know, and as the difficulties of being a gay man in the military, whether you're an officer and you're listed, it's the same thing, right? There's no discrimination. Okay, you're an officer and you're gay, you're safe. Mm-mm, doesn't matter.
Wow. Safe is the word that you used. So I automatically think of what it would mean to be unsafe in that um, situation, whether that be like from physical threat or from administrative perspective. But
Both.
um, yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, when
Um,
you're told not to go to certain parts of the ship because you're going to get beat up, I was afraid. I mean, I was still a tiny person, and I had to watch my back in my own house because I lived on the ship. I had to watch my back, and I was super nervous if we were out to sea and I was standing out by one of the railings. Was something going to happen? But to be threatened, told you can't go to this certain part of the ship, don't let us see you out. You're going to get beat up. It's bad. It's scary.
so here's another dumb question. And I keep saying that because
No
I've
dumb
never
questions.
served.
There's no
Okay,
such
cool,
thing as
cool.
dumb questions.
So like, I guess I was gonna say, did like leadership know? But I guess you couldn't tell leadership because of the whole don't ask, don't tell.
We were overseas, and my division officer, her name was Samia Cruz, who wonderful, wonderful lady. She knew I was gay, and when this witch hunt started, and that's what it's called. When it happens, it's a witch hunt. She came up. I was working temporary in a different department, and she came up. It was midnight, knocked on my door, and she said, "Do you know what's going on?" I was like, mm-mm. She's like, "The witch hunt has started. They're calling people's names, they're bringing people in," and I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my god!" And that's when I found out these guys were grabbing other people. And my first thought was, "Are they saying I'm grabbing people too?" Because once again, guilty by association, she's like, "Nope, but I want to let you know what you're going to walk into tomorrow morning." And I had to go back. It was our birthing where everyone sleeps at. I was super nervous to go back and to get off work and go back to our birthing and during a witch hunt. You're out to sea, so it's not like you can get off the ship and go anywhere. We're on a 6-month deployment. We're stuck. And that's when my friends told me, "You have nothing to worry about. You're a friend. You've never done anything inappropriately. You're just Nick." Or back in the day, it's McPheron. You're just McPheron.
Mm. Okay. So I'm gonna shift gears here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You shared how it was living on a ship and in the Navy and serving, the country and the climate and all that good stuff. But what about family? I know when you speak about your mom and your dad, it's always with such like, you know, I don't even know, like that feeling you get when you take a fuzzy blanket out of the dryer on a warm night. That's the fuzzy. That's what I get when you talk about your mom and your dad. So, if I can assume that your relationship with them is intact, it's good and stable. And when you told them, how did you tell them? Like, what was it like, the process?
Well, the process, I was still in the Navy. I remember the night I was just, because back in the day we didn't have cell phones. Shocker, right? We had a payphone. So I happened to call my mom on payphone, and I was having problems with the guy I was dating at the time, and I had usually been pretty good about saying she instead of he, just to kind of keep the facade up, right? And I had messed up. I mean, it was a pretty tough situation that me and the guy I was dating going through, and I said he slipped up and said he instead of she, and she's like, "So you're gay?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, so just like that, in
Yeah,
casual
just like that.
conversation.
Yeah, just
Okay.
casual conversation.
She probably
Um,
already knew.
she, I mean, yes and no. I don't know. I mean, I'm a mama's boy to this day. I'm 43. I talk to my mom 2, 3 times a day. A day. If I don't talk to my mom for a day, she's like, "Where you at? What's going on?" I said, "Working. Homework mode direction." Probably the one I was more nervous about was my dad. The masculinity is he gonna look at me as not as masculine as he did before, or you just never know what the views are. My mom, and as any parent, they go through, is it my fault? Did I do something wrong? Did I raise you wrong? I was like, no, you couldn't have done anything better, mom. And to let your audience know, I'm adopted. My parents adopted me when I was 2 or 3 days old. So these are my adopted
Days.
parents.
Okay.
Um, they love me. They love my husband. All my gay friends in the community, they love my parents. My parents treat them as their own kids because at the holidays, a lot of people, which is very tough for people in the LGBT community, because some don't have that family relationship, or their family, like I said at the beginning, have pushed them out. So I just bring them over, and they call my mom Mama Sue, Daddy Tim. They just love my parents. My mom loves everyone. She just doesn't doesn't matter. I shared something on Facebook the other day that my just how wonderful my mom and dad are. My mom and dad adopted three of us. One of them with special needs. So that just goes to show you how uh, open. And it took me many years to realize, yes, if they've adopted three different people from three different families, one with severe special needs, they have unconditional love.
Yeah,
Big,
that's a
tall,
special
fat,
kind of
skinny, one
love.
arm, no arms, handicapped, not handicapped.
Come on,
They
bring
have
them in.
unconditional love. They have unconditional
Yes.
love, and they still to this day.
You know,
You need something, they'll give it to you.
and
Even if they don't have it, they'll give you $1. They'll go without. That's
that's
how
how
much.
it's supposed to be. Like, and it really tugs at my heartstrings when I hear you talk about, especially the kids. No diss to the grown-ups, like not feeling like the love or feeling rejected, because we're human and we all hurt. Like, we're not so different. Bing. But like when I hear about the children, like when you're talking about 12, 13, and like I can't imagine like putting my kid out. Like I can't imagine, I just can't. And it breaks my heart. So I joke with my husband, but I'm not joking. And anyone knows me knows that I'm not joking. When I say I want to be the old lady with the candy at church, because I don't know if I grew up in the church, and there was always "come here, baby," and then she'd go in her little purse and she'd get me some candy, and they always have the best hugs. I said that's gonna be me when I get old. I want to be the old lady with the candy so I can hug and love on the babies. And I'm like, that's how I feel, because everyone, if you're a human and your blood is red, then you want to be loved. Um, and then when you don't get that from someone as close as your mother or your father, like the people that birthed you into this world, or in your case, the people that adopted you but still showed you unconditional love, like when you don't get that, I cannot imagine the havoc that it wreaks on a person's psyche.
And these young kids, they're homeless. So what do they turn to? Prostitution,
Mm,
drugs. And, there's maybe some older people in the community that prey on, and I've seen it. They prey on that younger
yeah.
uh, population of the community, because they're very vulnerable. I mean, I can't even fathom being 13, 14, or 15 and being homeless, and really not knowing what to do. And all of a sudden, here comes somebody else is going to take advantage of that situation. You
Sir,
know,
and not to interrupt you, but you said you can't imagine being a kid homeless. I can't imagine. I'm good and grown. I'm 42, and I can't imagine being homeless. And with all the experience and life knowledge that I have, let alone, like you said, a baby who is vulnerable, does not have the life skills, does not have the maturity, does not have the wisdom, does not have anything.
mhm. For something that's viewed as us being a choice,
Mm,
chose to be gay. And anytime I hear that, I'm like, I never chose to be bullied, called names, picked on, being not being picked in gym class, or you know.
yeah. So, you spoke of one of the things where they turn to prostitution and or drugs. And I worked with Naomi's House. That's a I don't want to it's an organization that helps young women who are coming out of sex trafficking and drugs and other stuff. So, and let me know if you're at liberty to talk about it, but I know that you had an experience with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, not the prostitution, but the
Well, no,
drugs.
no,
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. Please let me clarify. Not the prostitution, the drugs.
Uh, you know, it was 1999. Really, no one knew, is the world going to end when clock strikes midnight, when we click over to 2000. And I had just gotten back from a deployment, and I just got dumped while I was on the 6-month deployment a month in. So, you really, once you're dumped, they're not flying you home. If you're having marital problems, relationship problems, they are not flying you home. They're like,
Suck it
here's a
up.
phone, here's a phone card. And back in the day, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have widely used internet. So you really, hold on, let me get my pen and paper out. Let me write you a letter that will get to you in 3 weeks. And I came home, and the guy I dated years prior had said, come party. And I was like, okay, I'll come out and party. And I did crystal meth for the first time. And I was like, okay, I didn't like it because I was up for like 2 days and I just did a little bit. But
Is
then I
that normal?
figured, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because I'd never done anything, so really that first, and I thought I could just party on the weekends, uh, party turning into extended into Monday, then a Tuesday, a Wednesday, Thursday. I was doing it 7 days a week. I was showing up late to work, in the military, there's no excuse. You're showing up late to work, you're getting a drug test. And I had remembered that my commanding officer said, if you have a problem, come to me, we will rehabilitate you versus separate you. Because honestly, if you have a drug problem, they're separating you, you're creating a worse drug problem, right? Because you're not giving them the help that they need. You're just saying, obviously you can't do it in the military, we're turning our backs on you. So I went to rehab, and I thought, when you think of an inpatient rehab, I think of they're locking the doors, you're not gonna have your keys, you're not gonna have your car, you are secure.
And
No, I
this was
had
on the ship?
no, they sent me to the submarine base in San Diego,
Okay.
where the rehab facility was, and I had my car. I was able to leave at night. So I was partying. I still partied. I didn't have a problem back in the day. I was like, I don't have a problem. Don't have a problem. I think every addict or anyone that has a drinking problem or a drug addiction or any type of addiction, I don't have a problem, is what I first said. So I popped positive in rehab, and it didn't come clean and was honest and said I relapsed. Because if I would have said I relapsed, they would have rehabilitated me. No, they sent me back. They sent me packing. I went back to the ship. The captain was standing there right when I got on the ship, and I was being separated from the military after I think I had another 45 days of restriction. And when you get in trouble in the military, they take half your pay for 2 months. Can you
Wow.
imagine getting just a half a check for 1 month? I got 2 months. And when I got kicked out, I had really, I didn't tell my mom and dad. And while before I had gone to rehab, I started dealing drugs, which I'm not very proud of. And that's what I did after I got kicked out. I dealt drugs for a long, and I thought about this. I was like, man, it felt like a long time. It was really 10 months, 12 months of dealing crystal meth, ecstasy, GHB, anything in the gay party drug scene, no responsibilities. I mean, I really had a huge drug problem. And then, in fact, it was 20 years last Sunday, March 21st, that I got my house raided. That really was the turning point in my life to, okay, the, it was just like on Cops. They kicked the door in, both doors, the shotguns. I mean,
Stop.
they tore the house apart. I had 8 felonies. And then 2 weeks later, they came and raided my house again. 2 weeks later, for my friend that was staying with them.
But okay, Nick, hold on, because I feel like you're going too fast. So you said it's just like on Cops. So I'm literally imagining what I see on Cops.
Yeah.
Did you have stuff in the home?
Oh, yeah. I had
Oh,
a lot of ecstasy. I had a lot of crystal meth. In fact, somebody from Mexico had just came by the house and dumped a whole bunch of stuff off. So I then, because then after you get busted, you're like, man, was this a setup? Because the way the stars are aligning, you told me to hold on to this another night. This other person dropped a bunch of stuff off. So now I'm sitting heavy with a lot of product.
I have another question. Okay, so if you got a lot of product, and then you said 2 weeks later they raided your home again, well, how you ain't do no time?
Well, bail. I got bailed out.
Okay, but you got bail, but you still got to go to trial.
Wait, right. Well, I mean, once you get bailed out, you still have to go to court and everything. So this is all within 2 weeks, because everything that was in the house, I didn't care if it was my roommates or my friends that was staying with us. I raised my hand and said, "It's all mine. Everything in the house is mine."
Mm-hmm.
Because the search warrant only had my name on it, didn't have anybody else's. So I took the responsibility, and I think they knew my friend that was staying with us was a dealer also, and they didn't catch him on anything. So they're like, "We're gonna come back 2 weeks later." So uh, I was homeless for a little while, because after all this went down, the guy I was dating kicked me out of his house when it said, you can just quit doing drugs just like that. It's a choice. I was like, I wish it was, because when you're doing meth, that is a big monkey on your back.
I have seen pictures, is all I can say, and the deterioration of the human body that occurs. Like you said, you did it for 10 months. It's a wonder that you look how you look, sir, with
I have
all
all
due
my,
respect.
and all my teeth are real. I don't
That's what
have
I'm
any.
saying. Like,
Yeah.
that's wow.
And I still did not tell my parents anything. I had 8 felonies. I went to court. I had a good lawyer, and really, I had never been in any trouble. So
You
I
had a
kind of looked.
great lawyer if you didn't do time for having all them drugs in your house. You had a great lawyer.
I did 45 days work release.
Okay.
But I still did not tell my parents. And after you get busted, you go from the hero, the center of attention, where everyone's waiting for Nick to show up at the party because he's got all the goodies, to, oh, Nick's here. And you are really ostracized and outcasted from even your group of friends. And really, you think about it, they're not really friends. They're just there for,
Right.
you have something that they need or want. And I was very generous. I was always giving stuff out for free, which, I digress on that. We won't talk about that.
You were just the party guy, the all around
Yeah,
party
yeah.
guy.
But then it got to a point where, okay, Nick's turning people in. Nick said this, Nick said that. People were coming after me. I remember being at my friend's house and people were beating the door down to get into where I was at. And that was the point, because I was homeless. And I don't mean homeless, living on the street. I was couch surfing, living out of a plastic bin. And to me, when you don't have a place that you can call your own, and you are just going from place to place, you're homeless. And those people trying to get to me was, okay, this is enough. I have to remove myself from the situation. So I was on probation. I had to call my mom and dad. Still, they had no idea what was going on. And this is 2002 at this point. So this happened in 2000, from when I got kicked out to 2002. I didn't ask them. They didn't know I got arrested. They didn't know I got bailed out. They had no idea what happened. So my probation officer had to call my parents to make sure it's a legit address.
All right.
I'm just not going to bounce off probation.
Right.
So, I call my mom and dad. Hey, they work together. They were working together. And my mom's like, yeah, Mr. McDonald called. I said, oh, okay, good. Did you give him all the good stuff? Tell him. He's like, yeah. She was like, he also told me everything. I was like, oh, I said, Mama, yeah. I said, I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Tried to play that game. And she's like, nope, you can't even pee sideways without them knowing. You have to check in with probation every week. So she's like, my mom is like most moms, right? They yell, they're yellers, and that's how they get their point across. She didn't yell. She said, at first she's like, hold on, let me get your father on the phone too. And I think to myself, oh, I'm gonna have to tell the story to both of you. And she's like, you're the one that has to mark that on your application. You're the one that's a felon. You're the one that's going to have to talk about this when you get a job. We'll let you come here. We'll help you out. But you have to turn your life around. I got on a plane, I want to say April of 2002. I used to smoke cigarettes, maybe 1 or 2 packs a day. I smoked cigarettes for the last time. That was the last time I did crystal meth. And I haven't turned back. I mean, I may have had maybe a year later, but it'll be 20 years next year that I've been clean and sober off of crystal meth and drugs without any rehab. I just quit. You hear all the time when people are going through addiction or alcoholism that they went to church, they went to their parents, their brother, their sister, and and I tell myself, Nick, mom and dad ain't gonna knock the pipe out of your hand. God is not gonna come down and knock the pipe out of your hand. Your brother, your sister, you, Nick, have to do this for yourself. No one's gonna do it for you, and that's what I've done. I've done it for myself. We're always Monday morning quarterback, or I could say 20-year quarterback of what I should have, woulda, could have done. Would I do anything different? Maybe not deal dope or do drugs, but I really truly think me doing that has made me who I am today as a human being.
in some way, shape, or form. Everything that we've done in our past impacts our present. So, yeah, I can understand why you like wanting to skirt past that whole drug and experience, but at the same time, well, I guess I don't know. You would know the level of resolve and or self-discipline that you possess without having gone through some sort of trial and tribulation.
And I've been tested, the stress. I mean, I think everyone's been tested over the last 12, 18 months with COVID. Personally, professionally, family wise, we've all been tested, and if you've had monkeys in your shoulder way back in the day, drugs, and that was your escape or that made you feel good. I mean, it tests you. It really tests your resolve of will you relapse? And there's been times where I thought, man, just for that quick second, man, that would take it away. But then I also think for the other quick second, I look around at what I have, how far I've come, and
Mm.
then who I would disappoint, not including myself, my family, my friends, my husband. I've owned 3 houses since in the 20 years, multiple cars. I've never ever gotten in trouble again with the law. I went back to San Diego a year later after I moved, and I had gone to college for like a semester. I was like, I'll go to college. I was working 2 full-time jobs, going to school full time, and I wanted to stop marking yes on my application.
Mm.
Because you see that on an application, they're not going to call you. It's going to go in the pile. May or may not have been guilty of that in the past as a employer or someone that did interviews, because you see that on there, and whether people wrote the reasons why, they gave their story, or sometimes people just, I don't want to give them a chance. And someone gave me an opportunity and I marked it on my application. My best friend Rochelle, she gave me an opportunity to come work for her company. I worked at Lids back in the day, and I had gone out to San Diego and stood in front of the same judge that sentenced me
Wow.
a year later. And when I was in San Diego, I had the puka shells, bleach blonde, white hair, cocky attitude. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm cool. I'm Nick, whatever. And she said, I cannot believe you're the same young man that stood in front of me a year ago.
Wow.
You're that 1% that has never reoffended. Because usually when you get caught up in the drugs, and especially meth, it's a
Yeah.
hard monkey to kick. You reoffend. You're going to reoffend and reoffend and reoffend and reoffend because you don't have the willpower or self-control to say, hey, no, no. And she expunged my 8 felonies.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sure they're still there, but uh, it's been 20 years now, and to never be in trouble with drugs again,
Yeah.
it's I'm very proud of myself.
You should
Uh,
be.
and if I can share my story with anyone about that, being part of the community, young and choosing drugs, okay to experiment. Everyone experiments, right?
Right, right, right.
I'd be a hypocrite to say never do it, because most of the time when you tell people never do it, guess what they're going to do? Hey, don't touch that hot stove. Okay, hot.
Right. Right.
um, no matter how tough life gets, there's always someone out there that can reach their hand out to help you out.
Right. So can I ask, what does it mean to you to be an ally of the LGBT community? You spoke about there's always someone there to reach out. Like,
I would
person
consider myself an ally because I'm part of the community.
no, I mean, like, from your perspective, what does it mean to you for someone to be an ally? Because you spoke of someone being able to reach out, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean that they're a part of the LGBT community to be an ally, right?
I worked for GameStop for many years, and we had employee resource groups where it was very divided, and divided in a good way. We had many
Oh,
allies
okay. Okay.
that were supportive of the community, that whether they had a cousin, brother, sister, mom, mother, father, or somebody
Right.
that they knew in their family that was part of it, or they just didn't care who you were, black, white, Hispanic, gay, lesbian, transgender. Love is love.
Right.
They are here to support, number one, their organization, and support the people in the community part of the organization. And there are some great people that stood up and said, you know what, I'm not going to stand for people to bully you. And it's 2021. I still hear stuff. When I worked at GameStop, you would hear it in the stores all the time. The F word, the queer, the gay, because whether it's a young, it's not even young or old, it's everybody, right? It's their defense mechanism. They think that that's what they have to say to fit in, or it's cool or whatnot. At the end of the day, it's very derogatory.
Yeah.
You know, so it's great to see an ally that supports us, that may not identify with us, be part of the community, but they support us wholeheartedly, marching in the parades, doing a booth at the conferences, just to support the LGBT transgender community.
So in wrapping up, because this hour has went by really quickly. You didn't even notice, did you?
I'm back again.
If you had a recommendation for someone trying to come out to family or to friends or even to their work, their what words would you have? I know earlier you said stay true to yourself. So say now where you're an adult and you're in that position where you finally decided to come out. That's still the term, correct? Come out.
Come out.
What advice do you have for people in those situations that are ready to come out?
Come out to your close friends first.
Okay.
You can't just kick that closet door open and say, I'm here and I'm queer. Some people will do that, and some people it works. But, for so long, us that are learning ourselves and identifying and trying to, number one, being comfortable in your own skin. Before you can come out, you have to be comfortable with being a gay, lesbian, transgender, queer, bi, whatever. You have to be comfortable in your own skin first, number one. And some people will come out and still not be comfortable. I mean, wasn't comfortable in my own skin of being my true self, of being a recovering meth addict, until I spoke in front of 400 people at a GameStop conference. I did not feel, and that was in 2017 or 18.
Oh, wow.
400 people came to voluntarily to listen to me speak and tell my story.
Right. That wasn't a long time ago. That was recently, Nick.
Like I didn't talk about my past of being a drug addict because I was ashamed of it. I was ashamed of who I am. But now that I talk about it and verbalize my trials and tribulations, people are saying, I've been there. I know someone. I can relate to your situation, or I know someone. How did you handle it? Help me walk through it. That's the biggest reward. I mean, that blew my mind after I got done speaking. And we're in Vegas where I spoke. It's Party City, right? No, I was in bed at 9 o'clock every night because I had sweated through my shirt all day to worry about this presentation. Because the CEO was sitting there, the president, everybody, my bosses, my people, all my employees that worked for me were sitting right in the front table, and no one knew what I was going to say until I said it. Am I going to be judged? Because when you're on there and you are vulnerable, you are exposing yours. I put all my cards on the table, and people came up to who I couldn't fathom. My daughter's a severe alcoholic. She jumped off a parking garage. And that person was very high up in the GameStop, very, very high up in the GameStop chain of command. I'll be honest, it was the second command, Tony Bartel. And you hear that and you're like, but you're the president of a Fortune 500 company. Your family has problems?
Hello.
Right. So, but you never think, because they're so well, when you're a president of an organization, you're like, oh man, they can't have any problems because they're the president, right? But in actuality, it doesn't matter your income level, your sexuality,
We all got them.
Your race. Everyone has problems. And he talked to me before I gave my speech, when he told me about his daughter, probably took the breath away, and I was less nervous because I knew he could relate, and he is the president of the organization.
Yeah.
He can relate, and for him to open up and just be vulnerable himself, but yeah, come out to your friends, but you have to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
We always tell ourselves, yeah, don't do this, don't do that. Oh yeah, you should be this or do that. When you come out and you feel that aha, that sigh of I'm comfortable. I relate it to, you're in church. You got that fart you're holding in the whole church, and you finally let it out, and that stress is gone. The stress is gone. Are there people that are going to agree with it? Yes and no. And you have to be okay with that. You're not going to make everybody happy. My problem is I'm a people pleaser. I try to make everyone happy. Take from me. Everyone's not going to accept it and be okay. You might even lose some of your closest friends. And you have to be okay with it. Some people aren't comfortable. And at the same time, some of the people you may lose are uncomfortable because they're battling and dealing with their own internal demons. I have friends that are in their 40s that are just now coming out. Can you imagine being 40 years old and going this far along in your life? You just didn't wake up in your 40s and say, oh, I'm a homosexual. We had these feelings for a long time. Can you imagine how miserable they have been for so long, living a life that, number one, is not true to themselves or true to their family, especially if they're married to a young lady and then they all of a sudden, hey, I'm gay now. Just live your true self. That is, at the end of the day, once you're comfortable with yourself and your own skin, whether you're fat, you're skinny, you're black, you're white, you're Hispanic, you got no hair, you got a crazy eye, you wear glasses, you got braces, be comfortable in your own skin. I love you no matter who you are or what you are
I
or
love
what you
that.
wear or what your income level is. If you're a genuinely good person, I'm going to love you. We just moved into our neighborhood 8 months ago, and you would think that we've lived here for years. The community that I have brought together, the people I've brought together, all ages, young, old, kids, widowed, divorced, and everyone's enjoys just being their true selves. No one's judging, and that's the biggest thing, we all stand on our pulpits and judge, but our moms all tell us the same thing. You point one finger, you
There's
got
a
three
whole
fingers
bunch
pointing
more
back at
pointing at you.
you. Mm-hmm.
So love is what's gonna do it, man. And
Yep.
I mean that. And I'll say it from the mountaintops, man. Love is what's gonna do it. It's what it's going to take to get past a lot of the belief systems, a lot of the stereotypes, a lot of the hatred. It's gonna take love. And I'm gonna leave that there. So guys and gals, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of We Are Not So Different. Um, if you're out there and you're feeling like you're alone and maybe you have experienced rejection at the hands of friends, family, church, and you want some loving, man, hit me up in my DMs. Not on no pervert stuff. I realize now that probably sounded pervy. But Andrea loves people, man, and I will love on you. I will give you some encouragement. I will be a ear or a shoulder. So whatever you need, hit me up in my DMs, man. You're never alone, and we are not so different. Nick, thank you so much for your transparency and for being vulnerable with us today. Like, I'm praying that this will help someone, and I know it will once it gets released and once I shine it up and do all that good stuff. So thank you for spending your morning with We Are Not So Different.
Thanks for having me. I'd love to come back, and if there's anyone, I'm here to talk. I'm here to listen. I'm a good listener. I've been through a lot. I've done a lot in my experience that I've traveled. You're not alone. You're not.
Awesome. I might take you up on that. We might have to have Nick come back and do a few segments. We'll see how that goes. Until next week, y'all, take care.
We are not so different.